matchup as the Rams head to Seattle for the third meeting of the season between these two teams. A lot of familiarity there, as you might imagine. The Seattle defense keeps getting better, especially when pressuring the quarterback, coming off a season-high 50% pressure rate in that 49ers blowout. Matthew Stafford's only thrown one pick this season when pressured, and that was in the wild card at the Panthers. Dan, what does that Seahawks defense do that makes life just so difficult for a quarterback?
Obviously, the four-man rush is one of their staples, but it's also their overload pressures. Now, I thought it'd be interesting for everyone to understand at home kind of what the overload pressure is, and then how an offense and a quarterback try to see it and attack it. So when it comes to the overload pressure, Seattle likes to do what we call four off a side. It doesn't matter what four. It could be linebackers. It could be defensive backs. It doesn't matter. Now, this time you're going to get linebacker and corner. That is a specialty of theirs. They have secondary people that can pressure. Now, when they get their four off a side, think of a clock, okay? You're going to get this rotation that happens, meaning this player is going to drop down to here. This player is going to rotate over the top. That corner is going to drop back, and that corner is going to drop back. So you're going to get this kind of what we know is that umbrella circle. Now, from an offensive perspective, there's two ways to deal with it, J-Mac. We often talk about throwing into the blitz or throwing away from the blitz. If you watch teams that play against Seattle, if you throw into the blitz, you're dead. Yeah. Because the people pressuring, the drop down, you can have some success throwing away from it. Why, from a defensive perspective, do you guys teach me how when you're dropping to the side of the pressure, defenders think?
There's so many variables, and a lot of it goes back to the film study and just numbers-wise. For Matthew Stafford, when you're going against an offense, where does the quarterback like to throw the ball? Does he like to throw the ball to the field when he gets pressure? Does he like to throw the ball into the boundary? For the offensive line, how are they setting their protection? If you go back to the very start of this, you talked about them overloading a side. When you first look at this picture, which side are they overloading? They don't give you anything pre-snap to determine whether we're going to bring four of this side or four of that side. So once they come here, if I'm up here, this is Kobe Bryant. He's rotating here. He's going to have vision on the quarterback.
But when you're rotating down and the pressure's coming from that side, are you more aggressive?
I'm coming aggressive because you just talked about it. The one thing quarterbacks like to do, I've heard him say it many a times, throw the ball into the pressure. If a secondary player is coming at you, throw it right behind him. So that's why you're seeing Kobe Bryant roll up right now, and he's coming with vision on Matthew Stafford. He's coming downhill, ready to break on something. Reason why? Julian Love, the safety back here, is rotating over the half to get to that half of the field, knowing that his corner back here, he's not just running out of here. He's running out of here because he's responsible for the deep half of the field.
Okay, so you're telling me down to the pressure side, more aggressive. Talk to me about the guys that are dropping out away from that blitz. Are you guys overly aggressive depth? Or are you kind of playing with a little bit of vision to try to steal a pick?
The biggest variable is the guy right here. And the reason why is in order to get home and isolate some of these offensive linemen and confuse them, sometimes you're dropping a guy from the line of scrimmage. He's not going to be as good as a DB, as in a Nicky Man Warrior or one of those guys. So his responsibility is he has to cover up the flat. The issue is now the Rams have sent somebody vertical. So now you have two to a side. So for Job right here, he's trying to midpoint both of them, but he's faster than him. So this is the point, Matthew Stafford being the veteran, understanding the coverage, knowing who he wants to attack.
Huge part of this game is the Rams and Matthew Stafford figuring out where that overload pressure is going to come from, and then having a good option opposite the pressure, because you got to have the good pass concept away from it to truly hurt it.
I want a sound effect for the fist pump.
What would it be?
A little quiet there.
What would it be?
All right, but listen, you guys, this music means only one thing. It's time for Peter Schrager's Most Interesting Man, and we're not revealing anything in this bump here. You have to stick around to find out who it is. It's not who you just saw on the screen. Don't miss it. Next, right here on ESPN.
I know we can do better, and I know we will get better.
Okay, just a wild Bills press conference on Wednesday. We talked a lot about it yesterday, and it continues to be weird. Adam, what has the reaction been around the league?
Well, Laura, our editors and producers did a great job of editing down Buffalo Bills owner Terry Pegula. It would have been nice if he had edited himself down and done the exact same thing that our editors just did, to where he said simply, we've hit a proverbial playoff wall and felt like we needed to make a change. That would have been a great statement. That would have been appropriate. It would have been relevant. It would have been right. Instead, there was all the other accoutrements that came along with it that got people in trouble, that showed up people. He needed an editor like we have here on NFL Live to boil down his statements into the most succinct, accurate parts. He was missing an editor yesterday.
Yeah, what do you think, Peter?
You know, I thought the Keon Coleman quote made a lot of news and everyone lost their minds online, and we could discuss that later. I also thought there was some insight into what they're going to do moving forward. Take a listen to what they said when the reporters asked if Josh Allen had anything to do with Sean McDermott's dismissal.
The starting quarterback will be part of the team to help select a new coach. He's going to be working with us. And anything else, his feelings, I want to keep that private.
All right, that leads me to the next few weeks. You know, today, Brian Daboll interviewed for the Buffalo Bills head coaching job. Lou Anarumo is going to interview. We said that Grant Udinski is going to interview. We've heard a lot of different names that are going to interview. Josh Allen is going to play a major role in not only consulting, but selecting the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills. That could lead to a Pandora's box, or it could be, this is the face of our franchise, and the window is only yay big. We want him to have input. I don't know if this happens in the NFL as much as we're going to see here. Usually it's the player empowerment era in the NBA, but I give kudos to the Bills here in saying, this is the face of the franchise. If we're hiring an ex-head coach and it's his career, let's give him some input.
It changed largely because Josh Allen's been unable to advance to a Super Bowl. And he's won an MVP, and he might just be the single best player in the league. If they were not factoring in his opinion and his thoughts, they would be making a mistake. So they should be welcoming and asking what he thinks, and that should be part of the equation. Josh Allen shouldn't be making the decision, but he should be contributing in this group format to where they can come up with the best decision possible. One of the issues the Buffalo Bills are now up against due to the NFL rules and the timing of when they made the change is this. If they want to talk to Clint Kubiak on the Seattle side, or they want to talk to Chris Shula, Nate Scheelhaus, or Mike LaFleur on the Rams side, whichever team wins on Sunday, they cannot talk to that coach until after the Super Bowl. So they have to wait another 2+ weeks to even interview that person because they missed the initial window that would allow them to talk to those coaches next week. They can't do that. So the winners of both teams this weekend almost automatically disqualify themselves from the Bills head coaching job if Buffalo even would consider them. And there are certainly some qualified coaches coaching this weekend. You brought up Davis Webb. If the Broncos happen to win on Sunday, they cannot talk to Davis Webb until Monday, February 9th. Wow. Now, they could do that. They could wait that long, but that's an awful long time to wait to talk to a guy when you don't even know that he'll want the job, commit to your job, and you'll have to get together a staff for your job. So it's a difficult situation that they're in. And there are some great candidates now. They had Brian Daboll and Lou Anarumo today. They'll have Anthony Weaver tomorrow. They'll have Anthony Lynn Saturday. They'll have Grant Udinski Sunday. They can talk to a lot of people. But the coaches who are involved in the playoffs are going to have some limitations about which ones can talk to Buffalo and when they can speak to the Bills.
Real quick on Davis Webb for the viewers at home. Not only was he in that quarterback room with Josh Allen, not only is he Josh Allen's friend, but this is a guy who would also run the quarterback meetings 3 times a week in Buffalo, his final season there before going to the Giants and coaching. I'll note this. I've got this from Bill sources. His friendship with Josh Allen will not be looked at as a detriment in this interview process. They are going to open their eyes, and if he can interview, as Adam said, if they win, he can't until February 9th, but they're not going to hold that against him and say, well, that's off the board because of their friendship.
Yeah, Adam, I'm glad you brought that point up with the timeline here. I'm not sure people